The Women's Six Nations Show on OTB SPORTS.
In association with Vodafone, proudly supporting the Irish women's rugby team.
We all belong to the team of us.
Yeah, and you're very welcome along. It's Richie McCormack here with you ahead of the brand new TikTok Women's Six Nations series, which gets underway this Saturday, and chief among those games will be Ireland's opening salvo against Wales at the RDS, starting off a brand new era for Irish women's rugby under new head coach Greg McWilliams. He's sweeping a new broom, and we will start against Wales, as I say, in Ballsbridge. Join me on the show today to look forwards to the weekend's action, and indeed the Six Nations as a whole this season, is former Ireland captain Ciara Griffin. Ciara, good evening to you.
Good evening, Richie. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you very much. And also former Ireland prop Fiona Hayes joins us as well. Fiona, how are you?
Richie, what's the crack?
Not a bother at all. This kind of seems like when we're into we've got a new title sponsor, as I mentioned just there. We've got a new window for the Women's Six Nations as well. This kind of feels like, Fiona, it's almost like a brand new start for the Women's Six Nations.
Yeah, this is the clean slate. I think that Six Nations needed, but especially here in Ireland, Irish women's rugby needed. So it's the perfect time. New coaching staff, new sponsor come on. TikTok, I'm sure Ciara Griffin's been practicing her TikTok dance moves since she heard. And it's exciting times for the competition. It's what it's needed. Yeah,
Ciara, is it something that the women's team would have been crying out for the last couple of years? I know the pandemic obviously forced the hand a little bit last year, but is it something that the team had been calling out for, and women's players as a whole, as a group, would have been looking for, as a separate kind of window and a chance for the competition to shine on its own?
Yeah, completely. I think it's great. The Six Nations is a standalone tournament. It's great to find. I suppose it gives us the focus it needs. It gives it live coverage, and hopefully it increases viewership. And I think it will be able to showcase the strength women's rugby is at and how it's going from strength to strength. Definitely going in a World Cup year as well. It's very exciting to have a standalone tournament for the lead-in into it. So I think the Six Nations, it's fantastic that it's on its own.
Fiona, is it almost a case of, because I find myself thinking today as we're looking ahead to the opening weekend, that there was almost a little bit more room, because the week after the finish of the men's Six Nations, it feels like we're still in kind of, I guess, picking through the bones of everything that went on there, and it still needs maybe another week or so. Am I wanting too much here to want even more separation between the two tournaments?
I don't know. I think the hardcore rugby fans have just watched the 20s win the Grand Slam, watched the Irish lads come close. So I think it's perfect time, and I think people are in the zone. You're in that kind of Six Nations buzz. We've seen the crowds go to the Aviva for the home games, and it's a week off, and it's telling everybody get out now and get to the RDS. And I think it's brilliant as well, Richie, that they've spread out the fixtures. So we have one game down in Cork, one up in Belfast, and of course kicking it all off in the RDS.
Yeah, it certainly adds another air of freshness to it, and being able to tour the country, I guess, Ciara, is something that would have been huge for the players going back in the day. To be able to play in 3 different venues, 3 different provinces, is massive for the players.
Yeah, it's actually something we always wanted. As players, you always wanted to tour Ireland. As we always say, Ireland just isn't in Dublin. It's throughout the country, and it's great that it kind of, I suppose, it make it more accessible for players, for different clubs. We have a lot more clubs now going to different games. It might be Cork is closer for certain Munster teams and vice versa. Similar for Ulster teams. Being up in Belfast is fantastic. So often it's going to make it more accessible maybe to younger players who haven't had a chance before to come to live matches. So I think it's only a great thing, and it might grow and hopefully grow the viewership of the game throughout the country.
Yeah. Ciara, how are you finding all this kind of on the outside looking in for the first time in a long, long while?
I'm actually enjoying the build-up. Retirement is treating me well. I'm loving it myself, to be honest. But it is, I suppose it is strange at times, because usually, even at school now, you be in the mindset of you're getting work ready, leaving it for when you're away for Six Nations and all that. But I think it's really exciting. It's a different approach now for me, a different mindset or a different viewpoint. But I'm really excited for the group to see how they go. I'm delighted for Nicola Friday as captain. I'm excited to see her lead the group out on Saturday. So I think it's going to be a good competition. I
was just going to ask you about Nicola, because she's been handed the captaincy for this tournament, still only 26. It feels like she's already been around for a decade or more at this stage. You were handed the captaincy at a similarly young age. I think you were 24 when you got the armband. First of all, what does it mean, first of all, to get the captaincy, and what leadership qualities do you see Nicola bringing to this team in particular?
Yeah, I think look, being captain of any team is a massive honour, and especially your national team, the team you grew up looking up to and you grew up playing with, watching, wanting to play with. So I think for Nicola and her family, it was a massive, proud day in the Friday household over in Offaly. So I'm delighted for them and for her. But I think from Nicola, you'll see she leads by example in her actions. You know, she's a massive work rate. She's really like a real power unit, second row. So she works around the park an awful lot. She does a lot of the unseen work as well. Work that, like sealing the ruck, securing that breakdown, being a first arrival, securing dirty ball, just being there on the latch. Work that if it wasn't there, you wouldn't have clean set plays, or you wouldn't have, I suppose, the ball ready to play. So I think with Nicola, she leads by example. And I think she'll really work hard around her to bring players along with her.
Yeah, Fiona, for you, the right choice as captain is Nicola?
Yeah, it was a funny one. I've had lots of conversations in the last couple of months thinking about who was choice. I thought Catherine Dane might have been another one that come to mind, but I'm an old school forward. I always believe that the captain should be in the pack so they can get in the ear of the ref a lot closer to him. So yeah, she's the perfect choice. I know she's taken over the leadership of the line out a lot in recent years as well, and the calls were made through her, and she seemed to kind of gradually be taking that step up and building confidence. And it's exactly what Ciara said. You know, you mightn't see her carrying big ball around the park, but it's that work that we don't see in the stats, first, second arrivals, and she's always there. She's secure, she's very tight on the ball, and she's giving those players around her a helping hand, and she's kind of been doing that for a long time now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this. Like Fiona, you mentioned before that Greg McWilliams, the new head coach, is when you were talking to us, I think recently, he's a player you kind of want to play for. What do you think he's going to bring to the side this year, and how much of a departure is it going to be from the previous years that we've seen under the previous regime?
Yeah, so I think with Greg, his big thing is alignment and getting everyone aligned. I'm kind of watching from a coach's eye to see what he's looking to do, and you're thinking ahead. So looking at the squad that he's picked, Richie, I think he's going to want to play a lot of quick ball. He's big on KBA, keeping that ball alive. So the pack and the backs in general mightn't be your big, massive ball carriers, but what they'll give you is a fitness and a work rate around the pitch. And I know he's spoken about keeping ball in play as well. He's trying to get to that 33-minute mark where the ball is in play for that length of time, or not that 33 minutes, but it's in play for a long sustained time, which Ireland haven't been doing. He's studied that, and he's found they're a lot lower than other national teams. So that's something he's looking at working at, and getting those quick balls. And I think in his selection, we definitely see that a lot of the 7 girls are included, and he wants fast, he wants fit players, and he wants to play the game he's thinking. Yeah,
when we kind of talk about fast, we think about Bevan Parsons, Ciara, but she's obviously been left on the bench. Lucy Mulhall preferred on the wing, and Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe on the other. But it does look like there's a lot of pace in there, and there's a lot of drive, and there are points contained within that back three in particular.
Yeah, completely. It shows how competitive training has been, how selection has been, that you see Bevan on the bench. But again, that's what a substitute be able to bring on an impact player. So I think she probably will be chomping at the bit to make a point for when she comes on, which might be a good thing also, have that real impact. I think with the likes of like Lucy and Amy Lee, they're used to each other from sevens. They know how to play along one another. So I think that'll be interesting in either wing. And I think what we see with Amy Lee is that she'll often work in to get on the ball. She'll work in to find herself to get that carry. So I think that'd be a massive addition the weekend against Wales. Also, I'm looking forward to the battle between Amy Lee and Jasmine Joyce, just to see them front up against each other and just see how that battle goes.
How about that centre partnership, Fiona? Because it's a new concoction for this tournament, with Eve Higgins in alongside Stacey Flood on Saturday. Do you see that working okay? I mean, they're both Leinster teammates. You would figure that they're both going to be able to vibe off one another for the entire 80.
Yeah, Leinster teammates probably haven't played a lot with Leinster, but they definitely know each other from the sevens. It's actually the one that shocked me. I didn't think Stacey. I thought we were going looking at Stacey at out half because we talked a lot about changes in the past. I'm delighted to see Nicole Cronin in there. But do you know what makes it very interesting as well, Richie, is that you've now 2 good kickers on the pitch. So you've got a 10 and a 12. So that gives you a lot more options. So we probably won't just see attack and run in rugby. I think we will see maybe chip in over the top. We'll try to really kind of get behind that Welsh defence. So Eve Higgins, really, really good ball carrier. She's lightning quick, and we all know what type of playmaker Stacey can be. To have a playmaker at 12 is going to be exciting to watch as well.
Yeah, Ciara, what can we expect from Eve Riley? It's a big day for her, making her full debut at Scrum-half. It's a big ask to be thrown in at the deep end like this, but judging by everything that Greg McWilliams has had to say about her today after naming his team, it seems like she's going to be more than up for the case.
Yeah, completely. Like Aileen has, she's been involved in Irish camps since around 2018, 2019, and she's been in and out of different training camps. She has a lot of experience, I suppose, of the style of rugby you want to play in that camp setting, and obviously has a vast experience from the sevens coming in. With Blackrock this year, she played quite well also. So I think with Aileen, she has a lot of confidence, and she's quite a quick player, and she's not afraid to, I suppose, attack those channels. She's not afraid to carry also her quick pick and goes. To keep that defence honest. I'm really excited to see how Aileen and Nicole work together as a 9 and 10 pairing, because, like Fiona said, I'm really excited to see Nicole at 10 really strong there this year and into pros and for UL Bows this year in the IL season. I think that pairing could be electric, and I'm just really excited to see how they go at the weekend against Wales.
Yeah, it's set up nicely. Just a reminder to keep an eye out and an era for Wednesday Night Rugby each week, where we'll be giving away tickets to every home game for the Women's Six Nations, with thanks to Vodafone proudly sponsoring the Irish women's rugby team. We all belong to the team of us. Fiona, there seems to be a general air, like, I don't know if this is a result of everything that's gone on with women's rugby in Ireland over the past 6 to 12 months in particular, but there seems to be an air of everything's a little more settled this time around going into a Six Nations. That the squad that Greg has been able to pick from, obviously he's at the work leading into this Six Nations camp, but there seems to be less chopping and changing. There seems to be a surety and a more sure-footedness about how we're setting forth into the Six Nations. Would I be wrong in that assessment?
No, I think you're correct, but I think that's the alignment I thought that Greg likes to bring. So when Greg came into the role, he made it very clear at the start that the sevens were going to be included. He said they can play so many games. He will be deciding everything on form and how people are training. So it was kind of laid out, and everyone bought into that system. And, when you're up at camp and you see these girls training. But Richie, I think the big thing was he also went to those sevens girls and said, I need you to go back to your clubs and I need you to play rugby. I need you to play in this AIL, and I will watch the video footage, and you will get to the 15s camp based on your merit of playing 15s rugby. And that's, I think, what the players wanted across the board, because people understand, that it's not the same game. It's 15s. It's a lot different. And especially in the pack, it's exceptionally different because there's a lot of lineouts are different. You have to learn a lot more calls, and it's a lot more phase play. So I think because of that, everyone seems to be grounded. There's a clean slate. They've pushed aside that report now, and he's come in with his new coaching staff, and I think there's a happy buzz up at camp from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Ciara, it seems to be everybody knows where they are heading into this camp, which is a massive thing for confidence, I guess. Yeah,
it is, exactly. Like Fiona said, there seems to be a good buzz in camp from what we're hearing, which is excellent. And there's a real sense of cohesion. That's what people I've been talking to, they feel really close, good cohesion. People know where they're at, they know what they're doing or what they're meant to do. So I think that's really good for people going forward, and that there is that real clarity of where you're playing, what you're doing. So I think that's only going to help the group going forward to build that cohesive unit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that had clearly been lacking for the last while, and I guess, I don't want to say held the team back, but it certainly would have informed how those Six Nations the last couple of years went. As regards the Welsh team that they're playing this coming week, I mean, it seems like this is, from the outside looking in, an ideal start, Fiona, but Greg McWilliams has been keen to point out that they had a really good November, that they're building themselves towards the World Cup later this year and should not be written off by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely not written off. I think they played the American Eagles last week in an internal game as well, so they're after getting that under their belt. I think the big thing with this Welsh team is they were similar to Ireland maybe last year or a year and a half ago. There was a lot of stuff going on internally. Players weren't happy, especially with kind of coaching and systems he was playing. So they seems to have really moved on for that. They're very, very happy with their coach, but they've also given out, I think it's 12 contracts as well. So they've 12 contracted players who are getting fitter. So that's about 6 months. A lot of people would think Wales maybe weren't the fittest team when we've seen them over the last 2 years. So these players are now on full-time contracts. You would hope that their fitness would be peaking around now. And also you have to talk about them playing in that Prem 15s over in England. Bristol Bears are maybe second or third, I think, at the minute, and they have a lot of Welsh players and they seem to be very cohesive as well.
Yeah, that level and being able to play in the English game as well is good. Like, I know we certainly have our own representatives over there, but not as many as the Welsh would have. And I guess, Ciara, that's going to give them a real sense of confidence themselves heading into this tournament, that they know that they can play at that level and can account for teams on their best day.
Yeah, completely. Look, you want to play the best week in, week out, and I think that's often what the Premiership provides you with, that opportunity to play against teams of internationals, which only is going to develop you as a player, but develop also a skill set. Like Siwan, the Welsh captain, came out during the week and said that they're probably at the best skill set they've ever been at as a group. So I think they're big words leading into Six Nations. So I think they'll want to back that up also. Like Fiona was saying, they had the game against the American Eagles. They led 15-0 in the first 20 minutes. And that was what you suppose in the first 20 was their, I suppose, more cohesive pack. So I think they'll take real solace in that going forward. And like you see the likes of Caris Phillips back starting, has loads of experience. You see the likes of Sinead Harries on the bench, again, hoping to get into her fourth World Cup. So they have vast experience there in that forward pack, and I think they'll utilise that the weekend. Yeah,
being able to call upon the likes of Dorothy Wall again this year has got to be brilliant in being able to counteract that kind of threat, Fiona, that's going to be posed by the Welsh pack.
Yeah, that's it. I looked at this team, you've no Cliona Maloney, the junior herself, the Don that's on the call here, has since retired, and I was and Lindsay Peat is gone. I was thinking these were probably the biggest ball carriers Ireland had in maybe the last few games, especially in the qualifiers. So to see the likes of Dorothy Wall, we know what she can bring, and it's definitely ball carrying. So this will be a chance for her to maybe get on a little bit more ball, and I think her footwork in contact, as I've watched her with Blackrock as well in the last couple of games, she's really excelled at that. I know she's been kind of training up with the sevens in that full-time environment, so I think we're going to see even better player than we saw in the last Six Nations. Yeah,
Ciara, given the drain of experience, yourself included, as Fiona mentioned there, from that pack, have you any worries or any concerns from them heading into this game against Wales?
No, I think, look, as I always say, like we can't look back, and we have to look forward. So it's a real opportunity for this group now to put their hand up to develop natural leaders within the group. You say there, like Dorothy, she missed out in November through injury, so I'd say she's champing at the bit to come back. Again, Linda has been playing rugby over in France, playing at the top level, getting expert coaching, as she's been saying. So again, she'll come back with more confidence, looking to play well. I'm delighted to see Katie O'Dwyer at tight. And I think Sam Monaghan, although look, she only has 5 caps, she's quite an experienced head on her, and she knows how to control different situations, and she's a real worker. So I think there's enough there to, I suppose, counteract that, I suppose, lack of experience in terms of ability and really wanting to put the best foot forward. Yeah, and again, also Adele McMahon at 7, she's a tyrant as a flanker in terms of, you don't want to be on the opposite side of her anyway. So I think she'll put a lot of pressure on the Welsh side. Yeah, the Six Nations show, of course, here is with thanks to Vodafone, proudly supporting the Irish women's rugby team. We all belong to the team of us. Fiona, we'll get on to, I know you have a team to look out for this coming weekend, but first of all, the competition as a whole, we're almost, we're myopic in our own sense, and that's understandable that we look at Ireland and our progress. But is there anybody going to catch England again this year? Because their record over the last 5-6 years in this competition is immense. And the level that they've been able to play at, and we mentioned the ability to play that kind of organised 15s rugby week in and week out over in England, like it's massive. Is there any stopping them this year?
The only team that could probably get them is that French team. You know, they're going to be playing over in France. That's always a cauldron to go to the French crowd. I won't say hostile, but they're not the friendliest people in the world to play on the pitch with, especially when you're coming out the tunnel. They love to wind players out. Looking at this England team on paper, there's probably nobody near them right now. But I also think that Simon Middleton might be looking at, you know, testing a few things out, like Eddie Jones in brackets said he was doing for this Six Nations. But I think going into a World Cup, they'll definitely be trying to get they've had Zoe Harrison in a 10. They might be trying to change a few things. So we might see a few games where we won't think the scoreline, you know, where we might predict the scoreline to be big, but England mightn't. So for me, I think France is the only team that could take them, and just because the French team are at home.
Yeah, I'd imagine you'd be of a similar mindset, Ciara.
Yeah, exact same. And like France away is a totally different kettle of fish. They really make it into their Coliseum, whatever stadium they play in, and that home crowd really gets them an extra level. So if there's any team to catch England, it will be France.
Yeah. How far away then, Ciara, are we? I guess this Six Nations, without wanting to cast it aside by any sense, but with a new coach and with the amount of new players and the turnover that we've had in the past 12 months, you kind of figure it will take a competition, a Six Nations, to have an exact bearing of where we are probably a year down the line. But how far away realistically are we from that top two?
Yeah, I think this year this campaign will tell a lot. I don't, like we say, it won't be an overnight success, not with a new regime or a new management and I suppose a new coaching style. I'd say maybe 18, 24 months. Maybe after the World Cup, you'd love to see Ireland fighting for that top two spot. But I just don't think it will be straight away. It will take time to put in that platform myself.
Yeah. Then what would be regarded as success, I guess, in this Six Nations for you, Ciara?
For me, I think, and what you'd always think when you're playing at home, you always want to target your home games. You always want to either win your home games or at least get points. And I think for this group, they'll really target those 3 home matches. And obviously they have 2 tough away games. So I think when they're away, they'll be looking just to, I suppose, implement their own play to ensure that they stay with their game plan, that when they are away, that they don't, I suppose, go into reactive rugby, that they keep their structure. But I think when they're at home, their target really should be to win their 3 home games, and if not, at least come away with points from those matches.
Yeah. Yourself, Fiona, what would be success? Is it winning the home matches? Is it competing in the home matches and then asking as many questions as you possibly can then of France and England away from home?
Yeah, obviously they're going to look at how the game pans out. So if you lost the game closely, they'll probably take that as a success because it's their first year. But I think it's winning those home games. Although Ireland are probably the only team, well, not probably, are the only team that haven't qualified for the World Cup in the Six Nations. I think definitely bar England and France, the other 3 are definitely beatable, and especially at home. The players are there. They have been playing rugby. You know, the review came out and there was a chat about it, not enough rugby being played. They have been played. So it's about getting that cohesion, and I think they've had a couple of camps together now, and I'm very interested to see, but I would think they would be very happy with winning three home games. Yeah,
that would be certainly a mark of success and something to look forward to, particularly with as we mentioned at the top of the show, the team turning around the country this year, starting off in the RDS and obviously ending up in Kingspan Stadium and in between at Musgrave Park. But as we mentioned there, Fiona, you've got, ordinarily at this point, further weeks down the line, we'll be talking about the team of the week and who are the standout performers. We haven't got that just yet because we haven't had any games played yet, but you've got a team for us to look forward to and to look out for this coming weekend across Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, before the squads were announced, David Parsons really upset my whole plan, so I had to go back to the drawing board.
She still counts. She's a substitute. It's fine. She'll come on.
Yeah, she'd probably come in and score 4 tries. But yeah, look, I just I wanted to divide it up, obviously, between all the Six Nations, because you wouldn't want to be doing a 1 to 15 for Ireland, and I honestly probably would do that. But yeah, look, I'll start. We've got Linda Jujong, and she, to me, it has to be our tournament. You know, she's probably the biggest ball carrier now in that front row with Cliona gone. She's been playing in France. She's obviously been playing at Loosehead over in France to get her trade up, and I think she's definitely going to be someone to watch out for, especially around the park. Ireland might have to settle into that scrum because they haven't played together, those three front row girls, so that might take a game or two, but I definitely think around the park she's definitely one to watch. Amy Cockayne, England, probably one of the best hookers I've ever seen. Ciara, would that be your opinion as well?
Oh, yeah. Completely. She's there like an extra back row player in her style of play, and she's a formidable athlete.
Yeah, playing with Harlequins as well. So she's been lighting it up in the Prem 15. So she's definitely someone to watch out for. And then with France, you've got the tight Rose Bernadou. And what a ball carrier. What a really strong scrummager. She offers you it all. And France are really good with their front rows. They kind of take them off around the 55, 60 minute mark. So she gets to empty the tank, and she knows that she's going off, just after half time. So she gives it her all in games. Ciara spoke about her earlier, but Sam Monaghan. So Sam Monaghan, I've been watching her with Wasps. I've only seen her with Ireland, as you said, the 5 times, but I've been watching her closely with Wasps, and her physicality is absolutely immense. She seems to be everywhere in the park as well. I'm absolutely blown away by her work rate, especially in that Prem 15. She's making serious shapes over in England, and also like to have her behind that tight head. She'll sit in behind Katie O'Dwyer, and she give her that extra structure behind her. So she's the perfect option there. Obviously, you can't not in a second row talk about Zoe Alcroft. So Zoe is Player of the Year, last year World Player of the Year. She's with England. She's playing over in Gloucester and can play. She's actually probably playing a lot of back row with them, but she's just a really, really good player and dynamic, and just a second row that's everywhere on the pitch. A James Ryan type of character. With my back row, Adele McMahon, we were talking about her. Ciara was talking her at 7. You can't overlook her. She called her, I call her a terrier. She's nibbling at your feet in every ruck, and that's what you want out of your back rows. She's another girl that was playing in Wasps, and she's been immense. She had a bad injury, but she rehabbed it, but she's back, maybe played about 4 or 5 games with Wasps, and she's built up her fitness, and she's back to her usual thing, and I'm sure she's doing it up in camp as well to get selected at 7. Also, Gail Hermé. So she's the French captain, another back row. Ciara, you would have come across her a little bit as well when you're playing. Immense work rate. She's a 6, kind of blindside flanker, does all the dirty work, does the clearing out of rucks, but she also gets involved and really, really good in the line out, and excellent off the back of the scrum defensively as well. She absolutely smashes people. Jade Congal is someone I had to name at number 8 for Scotland, has been playing over in Harlequins as well. She took a couple of years out, or a year out with Scotland, to become a firefighter. She to focus that, and they really, really missed her. I think she came back in for the qualifiers, so she didn't play the last 6 Nations, but we saw a different Scottish team with her in it. What she brings as a ball carrier, especially off the back of the scrum, although sometimes they do play her at 6 as well, but she's just a real good leader, and you can see her constantly talking to people. So she's someone that I'd really be watching out. I love a good back row. That took me about 20 minutes to pick someone, but we went with her. So just 101 caps for Italy. Sarah Baratin, like what a player. She's still around, still rocking it, still bossing her pack around the pitch. She's probably, I think she's 31. Is she or 32, Ciara? So she'll go to this World Cup and probably might be the end of it, although I don't want to be calling time on anyone's career, but 101 caps and still really, really good. In those qualifiers, I thought she was just so controlled, and her kicking game as well is something that really stands to Italy. At 10, Zoe Harrison. It's Katie McLean was 10 for a long, long time, and I know over in England they were wondering who's going to take over. You had Meg Jones as well, who was there, that plays 12, but I think Zoe Harrison, especially in the last 6 Nations, and she's playing with Saracens, is someone that has just settled into that role. Beautiful right leg in her, can grubber the ball, can chip over the top, but it's her game play on the gain line. She puts players into space, and she's probably a really, really big threat for that English backline. 11, this was Bavin, but you cannot talk about Bavin and her sevens counterpart. So we had to go with Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe. I've played with her years back with Munster team. So when she played 15s before she went to the sevens, she's constantly asking questions, wants to be the best she can be. She's the most, she just absolutely absorbed knowledge. And since she's gone into the 15s game, she's now looked far more comfortable this season. We saw her once she gets going, we see what she can do in the sevens circuit, but I think we're really going to see a lot of her. And as Ciara said, she's going to get herself involved coming in off that blind wing and getting herself on the buzz. So I'm excited to watch her. Hannah Jones from Wales is someone I've seen a little bit. She's playing over in England as well. Really, really good crash 12. She's kind of the type of player that can crash the ball. She's not big in size, but she'll crash it, or else she'll put people into space. And she works really, really well with Jasmine Joyce as well. I know Wales do a lot of moves where she comes in off her shoulder. So she's someone that gets players into space, and she's an exciting player to watch. Beatrice Rigoni, you could not talk about her in centre for Italy. With her scrum cap, she's just an absolute. We talked about Tricky being a terror. She's a similar type of player. She's just there. She's involved in everything. She celebrates the wins. She really loves when her team, she gets everyone up for it. But she's also really, really good footwork, so she can dance around players. And she's one of the main threats with Italy, and she has been in the last year and a half when I've been watching them play. Jasmine Joyce at 14, who we've talked about earlier as well, playing with Bristol Bears. What a player with Great Britain. I think she was not the last Olympics, the one before that. She was the only player outside of England to make a Great Britain squad for the sevens. So that just shows how good and how fast she is, and she's just excelled at the game. And every time she puts on that Welsh shirt, she's getting better and better, and still quite young. So she's looking forward to World Cup, and I think Six Nations is a time she's really going to want to shine as well. And last but not least, Ellie Kildunn for England. England do change around their full backs, but someone they've kind of had in the last Six Nations quite a bit was Ellie Kildunn. Real threat, so secure under the high ball. A lot of people like to kind of push England back, but Ellie Kildunn is kind of counter attack from everywhere, and I think she's someone to watch out as well. Okay, table set nicely for the weekend's action and indeed for the season ahead in the Women's Six Nations. Fiona Hayes, thank you so much, and Ciara Griffin as well, thank you so much for joining us on the Six Nations show. Cheers, Richie. Thank you. Thanks, Mill.
The Women's Six Nations Show on OTB Sports.
In association with Vodafone, proudly supporting the Irish women's rugby team.
We all belong to the team of us.